Hey everybody, guess where I'm at? Yeah, you guessed it. My home away from home. I'm in the mall. The way I look at it is if I'm at home, I'm gonna feel depressed. Like there's nowhere to go or nothing to do. I'll just be laying down all day long and thinking of things that I shouldn't be thinking of. So I come out here and, look at all the people walking by and talk with them, and possibly another opportunity at some healing. I need that experience, and I'm willing and able to do so. So I don't hope that anybody needs my help, but if they do, then I'll be here for them, and that's how it should be anyway. I told you about a video that I was going to make on my relationships. Of course, I had this girl in high school. She was a beautiful girl. She was a Caucasian girl. Well, like I said, I've only had two of them. And it was not too much before the junior prom, and I had talked to her about going, and I never really did even tell my family, because there was no point in it. But nevertheless, she was on her way to get fitted into a dress, and she was hit by a car head on. Her and two other girls in the car, and the driver of the other car, all of them were killed. And it was pretty much a very sad moment in time, and it was something that I didn't forget for a while, yet I didn't talk about it. And I don't even know if my mom or dad or anybody in my family knew about it, because I really didn't talk too much about it. But after that, like I said, I was working at McDonald's, and I met this girl named Kim Fisher, and she had long blonde hair, went down to her buttocks, badonkadonk, whatever you want to call it. And she was different, very shy, but kind of mysterious in her own rights, and she didn't tell me a lot of things. And like I said, she got gone one day, and she didn't come back for like 2 or 3 weeks. Then when she did come back, she said she was having family problems, and she left, and I never saw her again. After that, I went in the Army. When I got out, I started working in this silk tree factory. And there was this girl in there that was from Laos. Her name was Damon. And she had a friend named Deanna that was from the Philippines. And Damon was liked by many of the guys in there. She appeared to like me. I mean, she talked to me quite often, and I really started feeling something for her. But I was told by her sister that I needed to go and speak to her uncle about possibly marrying her if that's what I wanted to do. Her uncle and her aunt both worked at the same place, so one time at lunch I went and talked to him, and he told me pretty much that it was going to cost me $5,000 to marry her. And I was, I don't remember how old I was. I was in my 20s. And I don't know. I just didn't feel right about paying money to marry a woman. It was it was really strange. So I decided that I didn't want to go with that, and it wasn't 3 weeks later. Some other guy, I guess he came up with the money. He was from Laos also, and he put the money up, and she got married to him. Um, I started talking to Deanna, and I really didn't like her like that. She was 2 years older than me, and I don't know, just something weird about the whole situation with her. And her grandmother worked at the Silk Tree plant. Her grandmother was a walking accident looking for a place to happen. She would go through areas of the plant and try to make it look like she got in some kind of accident so she could claim some money on it. Um, she had somebody push some boxes on her one time. And they also went to Disney World, and the Space Mountain roller coaster, she went on that, and she claimed that she hurt herself on that and sued Disney World for the ride. She got, I don't know, $10,000, $12,000, something like that, which you're probably thinking that's not all that much, but if you think about what year it was 1985, so that would have been a lot more money back then. And I don't know, I just I didn't have those feelings for Deanna like I did for Damon. And I went and visited her mother's house several times, and each time I went, her mother was working. She worked at the post office, and she thought very highly of herself because she was making a lot of money. When I finally did meet her, she took me out in the patio area out front, and we had what I call an interview. She proceeded to ask me what I was going to do with my life and what was my plans, and how was I including her daughter in all of this. And I was very headstrong at the time, and I didn't like somebody to tell me what I could and could not do. And she told me that she wanted a doctor or a lawyer for her daughter and all kind of stuff. And I didn't have no plans to be a doctor or a lawyer, so I said, well, we'll see. And for those reasons, I pursued Deanna. I didn't really have love for her. I even left her in 1989 and moved up here to Georgia with my family. And if you ask my mom, she'll tell you, Deanna would call every day. She would write me letters all the time. It was like she was obsessed with me. And she didn't want me going with anybody else, and she told me that she was ready to leave everything and come up here to Georgia with me. I probably should have thought about that a lot longer than what I did, because, like I said, my parents had told me long before that as much as we argued and fought before that, what more if we're already married? And I didn't listen to them. When it came to important decisions, I didn't listen to them, and other things, I listened to them all the time. But when it came to very important things, I just decided that I was going to make my own mistakes, more or less, because that's what happened. So, any case, I went down there and I brought her back up here. I married her the day I went down there, which was the biggest mistake of my life. Her father was finally home because he was in the Philippines the whole time I had known her up until that point. And he told me love is blind and this and that. But her mom pretty much said, you're not going to take my daughter anywhere. You're just not going to do it. And she started crying. She went back to the back bedroom and slammed the door. And then she came back out and she kept poking at me like, I don't believe that you can do anything with my daughter. She's not going to go with you. And I looked right over at my ex-wife and said, well, what is it you want to do? Because it isn't up to your parents. You're already, I think she was 25, 26. And she looked right over at her mom and said, I'm going with him. And so we left from there and went to the Justice of the Peace, her father and myself and her. And they took a picture of us. We both signed some papers and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We were married. And we went back to the house. I went to the U-Haul place and got all the furniture and everything and put it in the truck, and she had the car, so she drove the car. This is the first time she ever drove this far in her life. And her father was supposed to be some kind of driver in the Philippines or whatever. But turns out he wasn't much of a driver either. We got to Gainesville, Florida, which is only 2.5 hours away from where we were living at. And he wanted to stop and stay the night there. And I said, no, we got a long way to go. Why would we do that? And they went ahead and decided to continue with the drive, but we didn't make it much farther. I think we got another 3 hours, 2 hours, something like that, to Tifton, Georgia. And we stayed the night then. Of course, her grandmother came with us, so that was the mother-in-law of her father. Her father was driving his truck, and her grandmother went with him. Then I drove the U-Haul and she was driving the car. So anyways, we made it to Tifton, and sorry, I got a headache. We made it to Tifton, and they decided we were going to stay the night over there, so we did that. And woke up the next morning and started our way back up to where I was going to be living at, which is close to Stone Mountain, Georgia. Anyways, we got to Macon. If you know anything about Georgia area, Macon isn't maybe an hour away from Stone Mountain, so we got to Macon and they wanted to stop again, so we ended up stopping another night. It took us 2.5 days to get to Atlanta, Georgia from Orlando, Florida. It takes me like 6.5, 7 hours, but it took them 2.5 days. I tried my best. I really did, guys, but none of them would have found the place, so I had to stay. And boy, I didn't like it at all. But in any case, and not only that, it was supposed to be my newlywed night, and here we're in the same room with her father and her grandmother. So, anyways, we finally got to where we were going to be living at, and it was a total mess from that point on. My sister was not, my younger sister, she was not too far from graduating high school at that time, and my aunt lived like the next street over with my uncle, and they were planning to go to my sister's graduation. And so Deanna, my ex, she locks herself in the bathroom, and she didn't say nothing the whole time. My aunt was knocking on the door saying, please come with us, you'll have a good time, blah, blah, blah. And she just wouldn't say nothing. She didn't do anything. She wouldn't say anything. The whole time she just acted like a stinker. I mean, she wouldn't go and do anything with my family members or anything. She was just real standoffish. Later on, after the years went by, she finally would go to certain functions and that, but she'd always complain later on. She didn't like it. She didn't like being around my family. As I said, her condition, so. But, she did a whole lot of things the whole time I was married to her. I would go to work, and she would make sure my kids were right there listening to what she was saying, and she told me in front of them that she hopes that I get in an accident and get killed on my way to work. Said that several times. Just really unbelievable, nasty, negative. Anything that you could think of that was bad, that's what she did. And it was a regular basis. It wasn't just out of the blue, off the wall, something that she would say. She would do things like that always. She let the dog outside and it got hit by a car, and then she said, we need another dog. And I said, why? I mean, you don't seem to like any dog that we have. It always gets killed, or we end up taking it to the animal control. She hated dogs when she first came here to the United States. And she was just a total mess. And I tried to deal with it, like I said, for as long as I possibly could, but I just couldn't take it anymore. But it is my fault, I felt, because I didn't have love for her. And if any of my kids are listening to this, I apologize for that. I never really had that love for your mother. But she would never actually allow me to love her. Their family never showed any kind of love. I never seen them hugging each other and loving on each other. They just never did it. They'd be around each other. It's almost like they didn't even like each other, the way they were acting towards each other. And that was just all new to me. I didn't even know how to react when it came to things like that. Like, if I hadn't seen her father or her mother in quite some time, I would always walk up and hug them. Hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. But they would get out of the car, and my ex-wife would just stand there looking at them and not really have much to say at all. And I thought about that. It's really a totally different situation, because I didn't grow up that way. not only were we loving towards each other, we were big huggers. So, everybody would go around hugging each other when we saw each other if it had been a long time. I think she was more disappointed in the fact that I wasn't staying down there in Florida around near her family, and I wanted to stay up in Georgia. But we did have this discussion before I went down there to pick her up. And I told her, I said, the pay was a lot better, and the place is a lot nicer, And I let her see it, and she said she liked it, but then she was still not getting over the fact that her parents were down in Florida, and I was up here in Georgia with my family, but she couldn't have her family. And I just told her, when we first talked, I said, well, don't change your mind on this because of the fact that I'm up here closer to my family. It really didn't have a lot to do with my family, honestly. I mean, I love them sure enough, but I can be around them or not around them. And even when I'm around them, I don't see them as often as what I should, but that happens. Get busy with work or whatever, and I just don't get a chance to go over there to see them. But they know I love them and they love me, so I don't know why that's such a big, huge problem. But any case, she just always made it out like, I got what I wanted, but she didn't get what she wanted. But her family was always welcome up here, and we always went down there. I mean, didn't see them every day, but I didn't see my family every day either, and they were right not too far away. I mean, there was a time I was living in Conyers, and so were my parents, and I didn't see them for 3-4 months at a time, So it wasn't like I was going over to their house every day and just, oh, well, I got my parents, I don't care about you and your family or whatever. So that was my first marriage. And after I left that situation, when I told you the police showed up, I got a divorce, 3 months later. And I met a new girl that same year in November at my job. Now that also was a problem because I met my first wife at work, and then my second one I met at work also. And I didn't ever get off of that same roller coaster ride. And it always seemed like I didn't give enough time to actually know that person before I made that type of decision. So the next girl, she liked to be called Rosa, but her name is Veneranda, and she was from Honduras. And I had a few girls at work that I really liked, and there were a couple that liked me too, but once again, it always seems like the girls that I like end up being quite an age gap between us. I don't know why. I mean, I don't particularly look for sugar babies is what they're called, but I don't particularly look for them, but it just always seems to happen that way. And Veneranda is not a sugar baby for me because she's 50 and I'm 55, so any case, there was this girl named Sarah, and I really liked her. She was Mexican, She spoke English very well. She practically grew up here. I mean, I think she said she was 7 months old when her parents came across the border. And so she went to school here and everything else. And she worked at the same plant as me. And I really liked her. I even got to sing that song to her, Sarah. And, you know, I was really starstruck by her. She was beautiful. And she didn't have a boyfriend, and there really wasn't any guys talking to her. I mean, I thought being as beautiful as she was, that she would probably have, you know, 15, 20 guys following behind her, wagging their tails or something, but she really didn't. And I was surprised, but I did actually, I loved her. She told me she loved me, but see, that's where I really learned here recently within this last relationship. Just because somebody tells you they love you doesn't mean they love you at all. And anybody can say anything and it doesn't really mean anything. There are some people that are even good with making it look like they love you, not even just telling you, but like somewhat showing you, but it's all fake. And I had to find that out. But anyways, I met Veneranda, and she really was wanting to get her children over here and become legal over here. I didn't know that at first. I probably learned Spanish within the first 3 years of knowing her. And once we got married, it was a lot easier to learn it because she was there. So, you know, if I said something wrong, she corrected me right away. And she would point at items and tell me what they were in Spanish. So I got a chance to learn all the words and how to speak the sentences and everything else. So I became a basic expert at Spanish. I loved her, but in a different sense, I guess. I don't know. I had love for her, but instead of growing deeper, it actually went backwards. And it had all to do with her bringing her kids here because they were complete monsters. I was told by her that her sister was really good with them and that, but I couldn't see any of that. Her middle daughter, she had, from the time that I met her until the time she left to go to Texas, she had about 9 or 10 boyfriends, and that was only like a year and a half. And she was constantly trying to sneak guys in the back door. Of course, that doesn't fly with me, but and Veneranda, she was not good with figuring that kind of stuff out, but I was, and I told her in front of her mother she wasn't going to bring any guys in the house like that. I don't know who they are. One night she brought this one guy over. He had the police there. He had the police at another place that he went to. He got in a fight with a guy. He broke a bottle and stabbed the guy in the neck with it. The police were all out looking for him. They finally found him. And I said to Veneranda, I said, why would you allow somebody like that into our house? And here the girl was taking him in through the back door. And I told him, not anymore. Not as long as I'm in this house, you're not going to do it. So after that is when her son came here. Now he came here and went to immigration right away and tried to get a legalized status. So, like I said, I signed him into school and everything, and I had to drive all the way to South Chicago. Me in South Chicago. And I'm on the south side. I was at CVS, and I swear it was a big, huge mess over there. I don't believe that I was fearful, but I wasn't too far from that. And we went across the street to the Walmart to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. And one of the doors was wide open, so we just went up inside it, and about 8 employees and the manager came all the way to the bathroom and, oh no, you can't go in there. We're not open. You're not even supposed to be inside. And I explained to the guy, I said, I'm from Georgia and we have 24-hour Walmarts down there, so I thought this was one. I didn't have to try any other doors because one was wide open, and so I just went in. But anyways, he said we had to leave. We couldn't even use the bathroom, and we left. We went back to the CVS. I went inside and asked the girl, could we use it, because there just wasn't any stores open or anything, and I didn't know my way around south side Chicago. What a dangerous place, right? I mean, 7 to 12 people killed in one night. I mean, it's incredible down up there. And so I just waited until morning time, and then the council care worker or whatever that was with her son pulled up with him in the car, and been around the got out, went and hugged him and that. Of course, I shook his hand, blah, blah, blah. And you know the rest of the story because I told you in the other video. Signed him in school, she signed him out. Then he was like a whole room full of stolen goods, or I couldn't think of it being anything other than that. He had like 3 or 4 guys he was hanging out with, and they had a pickup truck, and they were going and getting this stuff and then bringing it all over there. I told her, I said, you can't have that kind of stuff in here. I'm not getting in trouble for that. And it wasn't about 2 weeks later, she called herself pulling the plug on me, telling me I had to get out. Excuse me. And so that particular house we were renting, I had a house with my ex-wife, but I hadn't bought one after that until later. But I tried to be down near my kids, so I left that house to be foreclosed. And so that's what happened, and I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was a mess. So then we moved forward. I didn't have a girlfriend. Okay, so Veneranda was January 2016. And then I met this girl online I told you about. I went to the Philippines for. I'm not going to mention her name. It's not really that important. But she knows who she is. And if she sees this video, hey, but no way. So I made friends with her in February of 2016, and by May I was already chatting with her, video chatting with her, telephone calls, and that went on for quite a while. But if I knew then what I know now, I would never have gotten involved with her at all. Never. and I'm sure she knew that, but it happened. But in any case, 2019, August 6th of 2019, my airplane landed down in Manila in the Philippines. And, excuse me. And so I had a lot of anxiousness. I was very anxious to meet her. I was crazy for her. I loved her more than any woman that I've loved in my life. And I had planned to go there and marry her and bring her back here after a certain amount of time, and then go back and forth, back and forth. I had a internet business that I had already started working on, and I made minimal money with that, and I was planning to use that to support myself while I was there. And just one thing after another. Supposedly they have a tradition there that when somebody comes from another country or whatever, that person is supposed to bring chocolate with them or whatever. And I don't know what kind of tradition that is or whatever, but I ended up forking up like 3,500 pesos for some chocolate. And her sister and everybody else benefited from that. I didn't ever get anything out of that, but that's what she said. And I had to listen to her talking about it. So anyways, I did that. I needed a computer because the phone that I had, it wasn't good enough. So I needed a computer. So I bought a computer and a couple of other things. And nothing seemed to go right. No matter what I did, no matter where I went, it was just all wrong. And so days went by, weeks went by, and then a couple of months went by. She had come home one day and said, "I hope I'm not pregnant with your baby," but I took that in a different sense. Because if you are exclusive to one person, why would you even have a doubt of whether it's your baby or not? So I was kind of weirded out by that saying. And then one night she took my passport into the kitchen and turned the fire stove on and tried to burn my passport. And I grabbed her wrist and I took the passport out of her hand. Of course, she said, "Oh, you hurt me, you hurt me. I'm gonna call the guard." I said, "Well, you can call whoever you want. You can call the president of your country if you want. I don't care. You trying to burn my passport? I guess I'll leave it up to you to explain why you did that." So anyways, I guess she thought about it for a couple of hours, and she came in and gave me a hug. She said she was sorry. She was crying. And foolishly, I accepted her apology, and supposedly we were good after that. But as the time went by while I was there, she started taking her daughter to school by herself. And then she wasn't coming home until... Now our daughter would go to school like 6:30 in the morning. Then she wouldn't come home until like 6:30 at night. So she was gone the whole time. And I thought it was kind of strange. Of course, she said that she was over at her mother's house, but I felt differently. I still do. She'll probably tell a lie and say that that's where she was, but I still don't believe it. There were a couple of things she said that she kind of made me feel that way. Number one is she said, "You should have came here earlier." It did take me 3 years to finally go over there to see her, and I was already having regrets of leaving and going over there, but I did, foolishly, and that's what happened. But I don't know, all in all, I didn't have such a bad time after I left her, but the 6th of November, she looked me in the face, said she hated me, and told me to go live in the street and I'll never get back to my own country. Which, I thought that was kind of weird too, but it is what it is. Anyways, I just don't know. Things didn't get better, they got worse, and she stopped talking to me. She started, like the last 2 months, we were together for 3, but the last 2 months, I think maybe once or twice she slept in the bedroom where I was at. Rest of the time she slept out in the living room, or sala. In the Philippines you all call it sala, but that's where she ended up sleeping at. She didn't want any part of me, and I knew we were already pretty much a done deal. But, like I said, it is what it is. But, that's pretty much all of the long-term relationships that I had. And I'll get back with you on some other things, but I just wanted to share my relationship story with you to allow you to see the type of people that I dealt with. And until the next time, I love you all so very much. Love yourself, love God, and by all means, love each other. Till next time, people. Bye.